We shall now go on to our next speaker, Dr. Prasanna Venkatesh, who is head of the glaucoma and research of Mahatma Eye Hospital at Trichinopoli, a center, a hospital which is doing extremely well. And he is going to tell us about how to optimize a private practice. On to you, Dr. Prasanna.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Chitra ma'am, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk on optimizing a private practice. So these are the objectives that I'll be covering in the next few minutes. That we need to have a vision and mission, and what groundwork has to be done, the type of practice and the choice of location, the legal requirements, the basic essentials, scope of services, adaptability, and crisis management. So let's see one by one. The vision and mission, every hospital has to have a unique vision and mission. A simple example being providing a high quality eye care at a reasonable price for all socioeconomic groups is the way to go, or you can choose your economic group accordingly. The groundwork, a meticulous survey is very, very important before you start the private practice. What is going to be the site of the location? What is going to be the electricity or the water supply? The site location that is very, very important to be chosen before you plan an hospital. And what is the competitors or the marketability of the healthcare services in that particular location is very important. Along with that, a survey of the economy of that particular area will also help us. The population of that area, what are the various institutions that are present in that location, such as schools, colleges, or any companies, and the catchment of that area. So we don't want to have that particular area being in a watershed zone, or if it's going to rain and the waters are going to get pooled in that particular area. So the catchment area groundwork is very important. And what is going to be the availability of manpower and mobilization of funds. Moving on to the functioning of the hospital, is it going to be a full-time or is it going to be a part-time? Or are we going to do a tie-up with any other institutes? And what are the different services that we are going to provide to the patient? So we can have a list of outpatient department services that we are going to offer to the patient, from the refractive error treatment, glaucoma, retina, pediatric ophthalmology, and so on. And we can also show the surgical scope of services needs to be planned. Is it going to be only a basic cataract surgery, or is it going to be a premium cataract surgery? Is it going to be only trabeculectomy for adult glaucomas, or are we going to do a valve procedure too? And is it also going to have a pediatric glaucoma surgery too? Similarly, this applies for other specialty as well, such as oculoplasty, advanced retinal surgery, and corneal surgery, and so on. As the panelists pointed out, if we were not offering any services, it's always better to refer the patient. So we need to put it down on point as to what are the services we are offering. Next is it going to be a small practice or is it going to be a large practice? So I'm actually a second generation ophthalmologist. So initially the practice was started in a very small way in a rental. Then once it started to flow well, then we slowly moved into our own building, which is a much better space of building space of 4,000 square feet. So it's always better to take baby steps, though I have no experience in the rental part, but I would say that the baby steps will always take you to a much better slow and steady progress than jumping into it. The choices of premises selection is very important. If you are going for a own building, the land construction and design is of very utmost importance. If it's a rental building, then the interior design is what we can focus on. The legal requirement starts from the doctor's registration certificate, and it goes up to the certificate of registration of clinical establishment, the incorporation certificate, the pollution control board license, the food safety and standard authority of India registration, if we want to have a canteen in the hospital, the sanitary certificate, building stability certificate, the fire license and the lifts license. And if you are going to have a general anesthesia procedure that is going to be performed, nowadays the NABH also is asking for narcotic license and obviously the NABH certificate. And it's better to always have an organogram starting from the hierarchy, who's going to be on the top and who's going to be up to the bottom, involving even the security, the drivers, and also the paramedical staffs in between. The basic requirements will be the calculation of the water supply, the fire protection, the manpower planning, and how are we going to analyze the workload and the maintenance cost. For, let us see, the water supply. If the beds are less than 100, the water requirement will be around 350 liters per day, and it will escalate to 400 liters per bed per day if the beds are more than 100. And also regular cleaning of the water tanks and reservoirs, checking them for microorganism growth, chlorination and dispensing systems have to be taken care of. Fire protection, it's always mandated to obtain an NOC from the fire department before the building can be occupied, which has to be renewed every year. And mock drill training should be conducted for the staff once every 3 months. The Part 4 of National Building Code of India 2005 on fire and life safety gives detailed guidelines on it. And also in case of an emergency, the code red mock training can also be done, and it can be shown as when to use a fire extinguisher, when to go for the firewall, and when to choose a water pump or a fire tank respectively. And the management of biomedical waste has also been taken care of, and it also has to be addressed. And certain biomedical wastes have to be treated before they can be disposed. Interior decoration, starting from the corridor, ramps, exit doors, up to the doctor consultation room, the pharmacy, opticals, all will need a meticulous planning. And currently in the pandemic era, sanitary arrangements also has to be taken care of, which is very important from a patient point of view. Patients are looking up to a good sanitation, especially after the pandemic era. The layout of various departments, corridors, minimum of 1500 millimeter width is mandatory. Ramps, a 300 millimeter of rise per distance of 6000 millimeters is mandatory with a width of 1500 millimeters. If you are planning for a lift, it's always better because easy transportation is possible. Stairs, wide treads, low rises with a continuous handrails for the patients to support with a width of 120 millimeters wide is mandatory, and a storage room is very important and integral part of an hospital. And the exit doors, 1000 millimeter approximately door opening is made for easy access of the wheelchair and the patient moving bed. A fire door is also important, which is very important for the construction of a private hospital. And the design consideration outside the hospital, is it going to be a two-wheeler parking, a four-wheeler parking, signboard for the hospitals, board for the doctors, and even the canteen area should be planned for. And these are some of our patient pictures. The doctor consultation room should be having a patient-centric design and also ensure patient privacy. Color and lighting plays a very important role in alleviating the patient anxiety to a certain level. These are some scan rooms where we have the scans ranging from the OCT, the topograph, A scan and B scan. Separate rooms can be planned. Counseling rooms, other supporting rooms like the MRD, the orthoptics, claims for the insurances, the waiting area, the lab, cash counter, reception. Space has to be allotted for each respectively. For a pediatric OPD, a children's play area can be allotted, followed by a baby feeding room. And also we have the canteen and the administrative room. Opticals should be licensed, and the contact lens room and opticals may be together, or you can have it slightly separated also. Pharmacy also, it should be having a Form 21 license, and a pharmacist should be employed there. And he also has to make sure that once every month, whether the expiry date has reached, and he should be vigilant about it. Fitting and furnishing can always be an add-on, which will always enhance the environment of the place. And these are some of the equipments for IT infrastructure, ranging from a PC monitor, a vCloud, a laptop, printer, server with a Wi-Fi connection. And instruments needed for the OP has to be planned for the general OPD, if you want a pediatric OPD, or if you're going to have a glaucoma, cataract. Separately, the instruments has to be planned meticulously. And staying relevant with technological advancements is very important. If there's going to be an upgrade, then we should always be ready to also upgrade it, so that we'll be staying relevant with technological advancements. The OT planning has to be done, making sure you follow the NABH norms. That's always better. And the theater instruments also can be planned from autoclave machine, operating microscope, the phaco machine, diathermy, vitrectomy, also the defibrillator, pulse oximeter, crash cart, etc. Insurance claims, it's always better to give the patients a wide variety of insurance claims, so that we'll always end up having an happy patient, so that he may have one particular lot of choices to choose from. And these are some of the insurance claims. Manpower planning, starting from the doctors, the PGs, the fellows, the paramedicals, up to the electricians, sanitary workers, pharmacists, storekeepers can be planned, so that the system is tight and it is really working as a team. And workload analysis is always very important, especially to see where we are standing. It's an analysis of the surgical operations, the inpatients, the OPD, and the laboratory tests. And it is always possible to set an activity standard to see where we are going to stand by simple means of a direct survey or an indirect survey, or by monitoring how we are compared to the previous months and the previous years to see for progress. Maintenance is very, very important, where we will have the maintenance for civil buildings, maintenance such as a painting, repair, electric bill, plumbing charges, water bill, fire maintenance, carpentry maintenance, housekeeping maintenance. So these are all one has to keep in mind before entering into a private practice. Obviously, we'll blend our practice with the ethics and the community outreach, where there is an active community involvement, and crisis management. Whenever there is a crisis, it's always better to innovate. And during the first wave, when there was a lot of issues with the triaging, we had an underground basement where we just temporarily changed it into a triage area and screened the patient there and then took the patient into the hospital. Sometimes certain innovations or point of care innovations from the patient point of view will work wonders. One such thing was the creation of a cubicle during the pandemic initial phase, which helped us in screening the patients by providing a doctor and paramedical safety. And these are some of the things that even in private practice, we can take care of. And telemedicine is always mandatory so that we can reach the mass population too. Last but not least, academics can also be blended with private practice. So whatever we learn, we can always give it back to the scientific committee by publishing our work, so that usually there is a saying that private practice really doesn't go in hand with academics, but that also has to be taken care of so that it's a perfect blend of academics and practice. And another thing is innovations. So you can still innovate simple innovations or complex innovations, such as the holograms that we have recently innovated. And you can have your simple innovations, which can be always presented or published too. And you can always promote yourself on social media, or just your activities can be uploaded. It's not really like a promotion. Your activities, a short 1 minute or 2 minute videos, can work wonders, where the patients may come to know about your awareness plan or what is the thing that is happening in the organization. So with this, I thank Madam for the opportunity, and LDP and ARC AIOS for the opportunity once again. Thank you, Madam.
Thanks, Dr. Prasanna. That was a wonderful talk. And I think you have stood up to tell us that what the second generation can do to a family practice, and amazing information. Gaurav, we can take just this one question because we have 3 more speakers. Having heard all that with Prasanna said, of course, he's a second generation guy, but when a person is going to start his practice, Dr. Gaurav, would you suggest that he go into a boutique kind of practice, keep it a specialized niche practice? Would the growth be more satisfying, or should you go for a better, a large, widespread section of the society has to be reached? That's one question. And would you feel that when you're going to invest, should you invest majorly on equipments, or should you equally concentrate on infrastructure and location?
Oh, wow, these are 2 big questions, ma'am. Anyway, I think, the kind of practice you will get into will depend upon, first is what you're looking yourself at. I mean, what is your mindset, and what kind of place you're going to be working at? What is the, ground reality of the area you are starting your practice in? For example, in Delhi, if you are starting in a place like Shadra versus you're starting in South Delhi, so the whole thing would be different. In South Delhi, you would set up a boutique practice, and maybe in Shadra, you would start, a low cost, high volume kind of a practice. Yet, it would also matter what is your expertise. If you're starting, say, straight after MS, and you want to start a comprehensive ophthalmology practice, you would probably want to start with more of a high volume, low cost, quality practice. Whereas if you are, say, highly trained and you want your mindset is that I want to see just 20 patients a day, I want to do your cornea trained, and you want to do just quality cornea work and nothing else. So it all depends on what you're really looking for. Yet I think for most people, starting with a low cost, they aspire to have good volumes, but a quality practice would be probably the way to go. And then investing on equipments is important today, because no longer are we in the days when we could start off with an ophthalmoscope and maybe a slit lamp. Today, almost everybody who starts a practice, I think most people like to work in group hospitals or corporate hospitals till they can make a step, start for themselves, as if they aspire to. So whenever you start a practice, you would obviously need the basics of doing a quality practice. And then you would probably want to do a tie-up with some place where you can take your patients for either surgery or diagnostics and stuff. So it all depends on the logistics of the place you're going to start your practice in. And then investment on infrastructure is also important. But as Rishi said, maybe not on buying land, but you can initially start off on a rented premises, and then move on to investing into land much later if that is a constraint. But if you already have a place of your own, nothing like it, as Purinder said also.
Thank you, Gaurav.